Welcome to the BAM podcast. That's right, BAM, business and money instead of bitching and moaning. This is the 2.0 version of the top 3 podcast, True Underdog. This will give you an inside look at building a business, overcoming business and personal issues, and most of all, not bitching and buying into this bitch-ass cancel culture lifestyle. I'm tired of it. I'm sure you're tired of it. Take it from me, who I built 3 companies and have done over $1 billion in sales in my time. You're going to hear from cool-ass guests as well on my show. You have 0 time to bitch, time to make your move. Let's fucking go. Bam! Bam! Jayson Waller here with the BAM podcast. That's Business and Money Podcast, Body and Mind Podcast. And I'm with the GOAT. I'm with my favorite. He inspires me and motivates me. In fact, I was listening to him this morning and yesterday when I was having a hard time, and he brings that roar out of my body to go out and crush it and overcome things. He's my hero when it comes to speaking and motivation. He has done all kinds of things. He's got a best-selling book right now, You Owe You, and it just came out and it's hit everywhere. It's crushing everything. He's a motivational speaker, the number 1 motivational speaker. He invests in businesses and does so much more. How you doing, my man? E.T. Eric Thomas, how you doing, baby?
What's up? Jason, always excited to be with the BAM, boys. This is not, my first rodeo. Super excited to be with you. Hey, it's not a lot of people in the world that can match my energy, right? And not a lot of podcasts that can match my energy, but BAM is one of them, man. So I'm doing well. Like you said, the book is doing well. And, we're trying to make sure that we keep that, fuel on the fire. A lot of people, man, unfortunately, they want to be successful. They want to live their best life, but they're so reactive, And so for me, it's like, hey, the book was doing well, but I'm like, hey, guys, put some gasoline on it. Put some carrots. Like, let's not let it do what it's going to do. This is a phenomenal project. I poured a lot of my heart, my soul. I was very transparent in the book. I'm like, guys, we cannot allow New York, LA, New York, best time, LA, we cannot allow, these sources to be the only ones that said this is a good book. Like, we got to get on the pavement. We got to let schools know and prisons know and everyday people know. So just excited, man, to have something to work on. I don't think, people get so caught up with money and so caught up with, cars and houses and clothes and stuff. But, at the end of the day, I think the funner part is the going after that stuff. It's not necessarily just acquiring it, but going after it, having a reason to get up, having a reason to wash, your face, put on some clothes. And even this morning, I'm in Cali. It's 7 a.m., man. So it was just an honor and a privilege knowing that my wife and I had to get up, shower, get dressed, get back to our property, which we had to evacuate because they're redoing all the floors in the house. And man, we're in our studio making it happen. So just the energy with knowing I got something to do. You know what I'm saying? My man is waiting on me. We about to do a crush killer podcast that's going to help some lives. So yeah, super excited, man.
No, BAM again. Like, you talk about the process, right? You just mentioned it. You're not chasing money. You're in the middle of this project. I remember when I had you on the True Underdog show and the book just came out and you were like super excited. And, when you have something, it's like getting to the championship, and you relate because you talked to a lot of these sports teams and athletes and motivate them and inspire them. But when they get to the championship, they just don't want to go. They want to win. And when you're out there, you're putting out the book, you're not chasing money. You're chasing fulfillment. You're chasing purpose. You're chasing, success. You're chasing to inspire people. You don't want it to just do great. You want it to do extraordinary. You're trying to take it to the next level. And you talk about that process through that. You actually have to put work in to sell a book after you put it out there. People think you just put it out there and it's done. No. That's just the beginning, right?
Yeah, I didn't know. This is my first publishing deal. So I didn't know the publishing company, wasn't responsible for helping me hit the New York Times bestsellers list. Now, I'm not saying, that they don't play a part, but I didn't understand that in the process, I had to get on podcasts. Yeah. My publishing company they weren't about to get on podcasts. I had to travel, and hit schools and let them know the book was coming out, colleges, churches, like get on my own podcast. I didn't know I had to call my marketing team, and we had to put together a marketing strategy. We had to do flyers. I had to go ask, my guys like CP3 to do videos, Dion Primetime, to promote it. Ed Milet, look, I need you to promote it. I didn't know. I thought, I made the assumption that, they were going to do everything. And I don't know why, but I did. But what I realized was like, oh, you to make the New York Times bestsellers list, E. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. You think you is just the title of the book? No, you if this thing is going to work. But here's the cool thing about it. Jay, here go the cool thing. The cool thing about it is I actually like having the ball in the fourth quarter with 3 seconds left and it's in my hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. At the end of the day, while the responsibility is great, man, I don't have to sit there and watch somebody else bring it up, the floor and watch them either hit a three or drive to the basket and just sit there and watch them as a spectator. Like through the process, I actually have the opportunity to make it happen on my own. So to be on all these podcasts, and to call my guys and, fly out to LA to meet up with CP3, all the stuff that I had to do, it was all well worth it. But again, I felt so comfortable because I wasn't a spectator hoping that somebody else would make it happen. I was engaged. I was, involved. I was in the midst of the process. And man, when we actually made it on the list that first week, man, I can't tell you how much joy I felt. And I know a lot of it had to do with I put my own sweat, blood, and tears in it. And that's what made it more fulfilling than just getting on the list because somebody else with the publishing company, Penguin, with their efforts, they would have been the only one. No, I felt comfortable because I knew they did their part. I did my part. And voila, we made it.
Well, and look, congrats, because that's not an easy feat, right? And publishing companies don't help you get there. I didn't get New York Times bestseller. That is the major honor right there. That is when you've completely taken it to the next level of the book. Wall Street Journal, Amazon, USA Today. They're still great. They're still great. But the work and effort and things that you have to do to get to the next level, that's the reward for the New York Times bestseller. So for me, I'm like inspired. I'm like, all right, the next book I put out, I'm going to have to go through this process. I'm going to have to go do the rodeos. I'm going to have to go to these events and talk to schools and churches and colleges and anybody I can get to listen that wants to try. So it inspires me. I love to see success and I love to learn from it and go, that's how they got there. I want to do that. And so, you talk about the UOU. What was the inspiration behind the book? We talked about it a little bit last time on the show, but for the new listeners here on this new podcast, what drove you to want to write that book, UOU?
So, Jay, when you hit 50,
you look good for 50, dog. Like you look good for 50.
Yeah, everything changes, man. So, when I hit 50, which was 2 years ago, the focus changed. When I was younger, it was really about, how many championships can I win? How many gigs can I do? How many lives could I touch or save? 50, I have been in the game now for 30 years when I hit 50, and it shifted to how can you help people do exactly what you did? So it became more like a duplication thing. It's like, okay, E, so, you have so many followers and you've done so many gigs and you've helped so many kids and you've made so much money, but can you duplicate yourself?
Yeah.
How many more individuals, can you create? So I, unintentionally, we help like Inky Johnson, unintentionally, Toby, who's going up for a Grammy, so I can, there are hundreds of, individuals, maybe even thousands that unintentionally, like they just watched the videos, did what I told them to do, and they're successful.
Well, hey, I'm one of those guys. You've inspired me to continue to share my message. So you can put that on that list.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but now I'm like, I need to be able to help people, unlike you, Jay, who don't have that motor and it just doesn't naturally, you get it. And so you listen, you hear, and you go, man, I'm going to take that information. There are other people who I know they needed more. Like they didn't just need the inspiration, they needed the implementation. And so it was like the videos are great and some people get them, but some people are going to literally need a roadmap. Like they're going to have to reread, take notes, come back to. And so I was like, you need to write a book that is going to chronicle the process of how you started, where you are now, the principles, the stories, the inspiration, the people. You got to lay it out for some people. And again, I'm not saying that like these people are inferior. Yeah. It's just we all learn differently. Yeah. And so this was the book that said, okay, what are the principles that you feel like you just have to share? And so the major one was nothing changed in my life until I took personal responsibility. The day I stopped thinking that, my mom owes me something because she brought me into the world. And maybe she does. Up until what? I don't know, 16, 17, 18, like, I don't know. Maybe my biological father, should have been in my life, perhaps. But now I'm at an age where it's like, okay, some things didn't happen for you. How long are you going to sit here and cry about it? There are certain things in this country with capitalism that are fair and that's not fair, right? It's like, 40%, my income, what I'm saying, the taxes. It's like, what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, though. It's like you can go, man, taxes and not make money, or you can go taxes and figure out how you can make more, and then how you can use, certain laws, and policies and strategize around those, to put yourself in a better economic situation and put others in it. Like, and so I got out of that victim boy into the victor, victor. And I know my state fans they hate when I say it, but Michigan's thing is hail to the victor, and again, I had to get to a point where I became a victor and not a victim, and so that's why I wrote the book. I was like, if you love videos and they get you pumped, if you love my voice and it gets you stoked, or man, I'm not really into that, I'm more of an introvert, like I don't really get into that. Okay, here is a roadmap that you can read and really figure things out. And so I figured, hey, if that's the last book I ever do, this will be the masterpiece that doesn't necessarily just tell my story, but chronicle the steps that it takes, to get to where I am.
One of the things I heard recently, and I've listened to a lot of your stuff, when I'm having a bad day, right? I'm guilty of not listening to things every day. Cause I wake up and I give myself affirmations. I've got 4 kids, 2 grandkids, they go through anxiety, they go through depression. I'm like, look, the first thing is you got to love yourself. You got to tell things about yourself. You got to believe it in order for it to happen. You believe negative ain't going to happen. You got to think positive. But something I listened to the other day, and I've listened to so much of your stuff, and I've popped in, I was driving to school with 2 of my kids, a 15-year-old learning to get her license, and then my son in the back, like, hey, watch that. And I said, hey, I want to listen to Ease coming up. I want to, get juiced up before I talk to him again. And it was one I never heard before. You were talking about, 75% of it's done just living here in the United States. 75% is done just being born here, and the other 25%'s up to you. Explain that a little bit, because that really touched home for people in today's world, where people are like making every excuse to not win and just lose rather than find reasons to win. They're looking for excuses to lose.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, Jay. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was going through some stuff in his marriage, and like everybody that's ever been married, or let's just say, like a lot of us that's been married, what I'm saying? Yeah. Like a lot of us that have been in partnerships with other people, because they're not us and they don't have the same mind or same, preferences. We're just different humans. And sometimes that difference, if you're not careful, can divide us, or disrupt, the flow of our relationship, And so he's coming to me and I'm saying, bro, first and foremost, bro, I'm married, bro. I've been married over 30 some years. Like, kill it. Like, I understand. But what you're doing right now is you come into it with like this victim mentality. And what I don't understand is you used to be an athlete. You never whined about defense. You played D1 football. You never whined when somebody blitzed you guys, or when somebody set up a scheme, to tackle you before you could either get to the line of scrimmage or stop you from, getting more than 1 or 2 yards. Like that never bothered you. You would just get back up, ask to get the ball again, and you would try to do whatever you need to do to break that scheme and get a touchdown. So you had this positive attitude about not being stopped. You had this positive attitude about, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to try it again. Like you had this positive attitude about, we lost the game or we lost 2 in a row, but that third one, I'm going to lift more weights. I'm going to go in the gym and watch film. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to get some sleep, but whatever, I'm not about to stop playing D1 football because I lost a few yards. And I'm like, so why are you going into your marriage? Why are you going into your marriage with you? I can't take it. If football was a game, you know what I'm saying? And you were able to be mentally strong and tough in a game, but here you are not mentally tough in life, And so I tell people all the time, bro, when you're born in America, I like to believe that God has given us like gifts. Like I just came into this world with this voice. I just came into this world with this energy. Like it's a gift that I have. So all of us were born with the gift. Now, I hate, Jay, when people say you a unicorn. I was like, bro, don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. I was homeless. I wasn't always using this like this. Like, don't do me like that. I had to foster this. I had to learn to love myself. I had to learn to love my gift. I had to learn to love the uniqueness of how I present and what I do. People didn't always like this. This wasn't always popular, but I realized, you got a gift. This was something that was given to you. Now, unfortunately, every gift isn't unwrapped. Like every gift isn't assembled. Like every gift don't come with batteries. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it doesn't mean that it's not a gift. So in America, you were born, God gave you a gift. Then now you're in a country with opportunity. Like, I speak for a living. You feel me? Like I speak. We do business, bro. Like you said, we do business, man. Like we live in a country where we can go and get a 401c, or we can get an LLC, or we can get an S corp. You know what I'm saying? Like we have so many ways that we can go get money. And then we live in a country with millions of people who need products and services. And now we live in a country where, like when I was growing up, bro, I'm 52. When I was growing up, like you had to go through Marshalls. You had to go through Sears and Roebuck. Like you had to go through, Montgomery Ward. like you couldn't go online and sell your own product online. Like you needed an agent. You needed to go through ABC and NBC and CBS. Like, bro, we on Riverside or whatever this is. Like, bro, we don't have to go through anybody. We don't have to go through another network or somebody for me and you to have a conversation and to put our content out in the world. Yeah. And so I believe 50% God has given to us, 25% we're in this world called America where there's opportunity, and then the other 25% is like, bro, they're not going to unwrap it for you. They're not going to assemble it for you. They're not going to put batteries in. And then I know there's some of you who are probably saying, man, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? I do not mean to minimize what you're going through in your struggle. In no way do I mean to minimize it. But I guarantee whatever you're going through, you can find hundreds of thousands of other people who have the exact same challenge that you have, and they played their hand, and they've been super successful playing their hand. And so again, Jay, we just live in a country where there are opportunities. There are third world countries, bro. I don't care how early you get up in the morning. I don't care what time you go to bed at night. There are other countries, and I'm being honest. I won't say the country because I don't want people to think I'm being disrespectful, but it's one of those countries where you can go and they do resorts.
Yeah.
And so we get off the plane. The guy's taking my bags. He's putting us on this tour bus. We get to the hotel. He's taking everything out, right? He's checking up, like when it's time to check us in the room, he comes. I'm like, bro, you was the dude on the bus. He checking us into the room, right? Then later on, I go to the bar later on that evening, and he at the bar. And I'm like, yo, bro, how many jobs you got? He like 3-4 jobs. And I'm like, 3-4 jobs? He was like, yep. And the 3-4 jobs don't pay me as much as you paid me with that tip. Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, I'm in America. I'm making $200,000 a speaking engagement. Like unbelievable. This is, bro, I'm bi-coastal. I live on the West Coast, the East Coast. Like, bro, only in America. So am I saying that America, is perfect? Absolutely not. There's people here. It's definitely not perfect when you have people. Am I saying that there are not challenges or whatever? Absolutely, there are challenges. There are hurdles. But I love my wife and I love my children too much to let those hurdles and challenges stop us from living and experiencing the American dream. So I will climb every mountain. I will jump over every hurdle. I will do whatever it takes to take advantage of the American dream. And yes, I'm one of those individuals that believe in the American dream. Are they passing the American dream out at the local convenience store? No, they're not. But does it exist? Absolutely. And if you want to be, what is it? The land of the free,
Yeah.
And the home of the brave. If you want to be brave, if you want to be brave, if you want to be courageous, man, you can make it happen. So I'm not making it perfect. I'm not saying, there are not things that we need to work on. I'm not saying we shouldn't be more progressive. I just talked about 40% tax. You know what I'm saying? It hurts me, when I'm in Southern Cal and I see all this homelessness and whatever, and we're going to do our part to support that. But I am telling you that there are opportunities here we need to take. If you're listening, you need to be on the right side of those opportunities.
Yeah, no, and it's unfortunate. I know what you're talking about when you go to certain countries and you just feel so bad. Like your tip changes their whole year. You know what I mean? And it feels good that you could do that, but it's like we are blessed. We wake up with those blessings. And, one of the things that I believe in, I talked about on one of my shows is, life has battles and it has blessings. And we go through these battles, and you were just talking about the people out there, they have their own things going on, the stuff, and everybody's situation is relative to what they're used to, right? Like my kids are like, it's really hard. And I try to relate, but my childhood was a little harder than theirs. And then my dad had this assumption. He grew up at 9 Mile and Woodward, right? And he's like, I used to walk 5 miles in the snow uphill to go to school. And then I saw it was only like half a mile and it wasn't uphill, right? But the point is everybody has their issues, right? Whether it be abuse, which I went through, whether it be, neglect, whether it be being homeless, whether it be, not having a father figure in your life, whether it be all of these things. Everybody has stuff. And the point is what do you do with it? And that's what I'm talking about, the battle versus the blessings. We have these battles in life. And the thing that I try to do or teach my kids is when you're in this battle, just know that when you get through the battle, there's a blessing. But then the blessing will eventually end again, and you have another battle. And that's what helps us grow. And I think you just touched on that really well.
Say that, Jay. Like, I didn't want to add. You're right. That just gave me perspective. There is blessings and there's battles. I tell people, a lot of times in life, you're either out of the storm, headed to a storm, or you're either in a storm, heading out of a storm.
Yeah.
At some point in life, you were in one or three of those categories, and we've got to learn to love each one. My pool in the backyard, I had a whole little, backyard experience that I wanted. It happened. They started doing COVID, so some stuff happened and some personal stuff happened to the gentleman that was doing it. It's like I go in my backyard and it's like it's still not, after 2.5 years, it's still not done. And people are like, how do you feel? I said, I feel blessed, because one, the house is finished, and my wife and I have been able to make it into a home. And the backyard, whenever it's done, is a luxury, but the house is finished, and we're in the house and we enjoy the house and we enjoy each other. My daughter's doing well. My son's doing well. They're on the West Coast. Jalen's up in LA. Jada's here in San Diego, and we're doing well mentally and emotionally. So no, the backyard's not finished. Yep. God has blessed us financially, and you see money isn't everything because we've got money and it's still not finished, and then when they start working and really start working hard, something happened on the West Coast where it started raining in Southern California. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, it's rained so much that they haven't been able to, get the ground dry, but I don't care. Why? It's a part. If we had everything we wanted, if we didn't have any, like I don't know a guy who, like yourself, has got a little muscle there. It doesn't happen not lifting weights or not putting resistance, whether it be push-ups or sit-ups or, doing a pull-up. Like you don't get muscle from not feeling resistance. Like it's resistance, muscle. It's resistance, muscle. No resistance, no muscle. Like, it is what it is. And so we can't be, we can't look at resistance in a negative way. We have to understand that resistance has its place. You got cardio resistance. You do cardio without resistance, like, you're just not going to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to see it.
I'm guilty of that, by the way. I look good here, but when I get out, you can tell it's a dad bod because I don't do cardio and I eat horrible. But go ahead.
So cardio has its advantage, but resistance has its advantage. Cardio does something for the body. Resistance does something for the body. And so life resistance does something for the body. And I really feel that this sound that comes from my voice, a lot of the passion that you hear and people go online, what up, it's your boy Poindexter. Like, yo, I feel you try to be like me, and I feel like you're getting loud, but it's not the loud that makes me loud.
Right.
It is the getting through homelessness. It is getting through my academic struggles. It is getting through all my challenges. It is getting through the relationships that I love and the differences, and we're working it out. Like, what you hear is the muscle from the resistance. You don't just hear volume. You hear the muscle that has been developed from the resistance that I've gone through in life.
I love how your voice, like you talked about that too, your treble is down and your bass is up. I think that's what has drawn me in, for these years, where I'm like, and I remember, like, you were mega popular now. Not that you weren't then, but like a lot of people back then, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I started listening to you, I built this solar company, and I'd have to put videos on to motivate the sales team before I went out and gave them my 10-minute hoorah, and it was like, oh, that guy, he's good, he's loud, he's good. Some of these professional people, some of them like backed off a little bit. They weren't used to it. It's like, who's this guy? He seems angry. And you weren't. It was passion. It was your voice getting loud. And I think that drew me in. And, we have similar energy. Everyone's different, but that's kind of, it's passionate. And people think you're yelling. You're just passionate. And I can somewhat relate to that. But that bass that you have, that is a gift that you've continued to develop. And know when to raise it up and draw people in to emphasize things, right?
Yeah, and so here's the deal. We all have a gift. And to your point, everybody thinks that everybody enjoyed this gift when I first started, and they didn't, because before I existed, motivation was different. Like, it wasn't that it wasn't passionate, but in some regards, it was a little bit more cerebral, it was a little bit more structured, if you will.
Very overly professional. It wasn't relatable to the everyday folks.
It wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Zig told the stories, but a lot of the speakers were, it was more analytical. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't this style. So people didn't necessarily enjoy it on the offset. But what I try to explain to people is that we all have a gift. And if we would stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about our gift, and we would hone our gift, and we would nurture it and, really love it and take care of it, and give it what I call some TLC, because for real, in the beginning, when you have it, it's raw. You know what I'm saying? It needed a little TLC, and so as I started loving it, people actually started loving it as I loved it. As I thought it was important, and as I thought it moved a crowd, perhaps it didn't move white collar in the same way it moved blue collar. Mm-hmm. But being from Detroit, bro, we blue collar, Jay. Yeah. Like, it is what it is. And so I said to myself, while a lot of white collar listeners may not value it, really the majority of us are blue collar. The majority of us aren't white collar. Like, the majority of people in the United States of America are not white collar. They're blue collar. You know what I'm saying? They're us. Yeah. And so I was like, just because a minority does not value you does not mean that you're not significant to the majority, right? And you are significant to the majority. So the majority may never be able to pay you for what you do, but you're still giving them a service. So I never got paid for the YouTube videos. I never got paid for Instagram and Facebook, but I still put it out there. And let me tell you what happened. What happened, because I loved me, as you stated earlier with your kids, as I loved me, as I valued me, as I valued my gift and took it serious, blue collar started to say to their supervisor, white collar Hey, we need ET.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, like we ready to work. We ready to take the net up. But we need ET. And so eventually the mass majority of blue collar that could relate start demanding that people like myself could come and speak to their company as opposed to the people that they couldn't relate to.
Right.
I'm not saying that the white collar supervisor or manager or a CEO, I don't know that he could ever relate to me. I don't know that Nick Saban ever related to me. I don't know. Like when I met Nick, we never, he brought me in a couple times. We never had the discussion, but I do know that the weight trainers, I do know the strength and conditioning guys they played that stuff when Cat was trying to lift 425 and 450. And so it was the weight guys, it was the strength and conditioning coaches, along with their defensive players, that was like, yo, coach, have you ever heard of ET? Like, we need to get ET in this joker. And so I'm proud that, and this is for you guys, it's not for Jay and I, this is for you. I'm proud that I love myself enough and that I didn't give up on my gift because other people didn't see the value of my gift. I'm glad I didn't give up on myself because other people didn't value me the way I value me, and I stuck to my guns. And now, I am considered, the number one motivational speaker in the world. Whatever that means. Like, I don't, I'm saying, I don't know what it means. But to go
It means you're
on,
number one. You're humble, but that's what it means, right?
and what I say, Jay, to those people, like, keep believing in yourself, keep moving forward, because everywhere you see on the internet where I'm number one, I promise you guys, there's no affiliation with me and that source. So there are individuals, who create speakers bureaus, and then they say that their people are the best of the best, and it makes sense. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better tell that narrative because you're trying to get your person hired. I'm telling you that any site where it's saying ET is number one, it's the independent site. It's not something that I influenced, I didn't manipulate, I didn't make it up. And so I say that to say to you, if you believe in yourself, that is the first ingredient to others one day believing in you. But if you never believe in you and you're waiting on somebody else to tell you how gifted and valuable you are, even your mom, there's some of you right now, you're still waiting on your parent to tell you that they proud of you. Like, you need to go tell yourself you proud of you now. And again, this is not to disrespect mom or disrespect dad or grandma or your mentor. I'm just saying, when you're waiting on someone else to do something for you, the probability of your success goes down because you have to wait and depend on them. Whereas when you depend on yourself, man, the probability of it happening is so much greater. Why? Because you're with you all the time and you have the ability to do stuff for yourself whenever you want to, whenever you feel like it.
You touched on something, like growing up. I don't know if you've ever had a therapist. I had a therapist. I've been married, 27 years, been together 24. I'm sorry, reverse that. Married 24, been together 27, 4 kids, everything else. So I married my high school sweetheart, but we've been through high and low, and we've been through therapy and trying to figure out, why am I so energetic? Why do I come across so angry when I'm not? All these things I'm going through, and why am I so motivated? It's not money I'm chasing, it's success. It's showing people that, I can prove them wrong, and I don't get off my path. It's just what I like to do. Tell me I can't. I want to show you I can, for me, not for you. You said something about the parents. I think I had a case of, hey, Dad, look, I hit a home run. Oh, you're not here. Hey, Dad, I got on base. Oh, you're not here. And there's a lot of listeners out there where they're waiting, like you said, for their parents to say, attaboy, attagirl, great job. Yeah. You don't need that. He just said you don't need that to go out and do what you need to do. You need to love yourself, build confidence, and do it for you. And that's what kind of kept me motivated, because accolades, awards, Entrepreneur of the Year, EY, all these things still wasn't enough. Like, I'm just driven to just keep going. It's just how I'm built, how you're built, how certain people are built. And if people have that burning inside of them, they can't sit and wait. They're wasting time waiting for someone to tell them, oh, I'm so proud of you. They got to go get it themselves.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? I realized, and it took me so long, Jay. I was like, wow, my mom is a human. I didn't know that for so long, Jay. I just thought my mom was a super mom. and that she had always been a mom. And then I realized one day through conversation that, wow, she was one of 14. Like they were below poverty.
Yeah.
My mom never had any new clothes. She was number maybe four, and it's just hand-me-downs. They had one bathroom in a three-bedroom on the south side of Chicago. Didn't thought their father was dead. It was like, you were so insensitive. You were relying on a human who was so human, and you had these very unrealistic expectations of this person. And when mom didn't do what you thought she should do, you became a victim. Why is me, and why is my mom not like their mom, and why is this? And it was like, yo, you're not appreciating the growth that your mom experienced from her generation and your generation. To the point, Jay, where my mom was like, yo, we not having 14. I'm not doing like it was only three of us, me and my two sisters, and all of us were 7 years apart. Like, Jay, I never valued the fact that my mom didn't have us back to back so she could have time with us. Like, I never valued the fact that my mom didn't have a bunch of us so we could get new clothes. So we could have food in the refrigerator. So we could get the attention that I never thought. All I thought about was what I don't have, what you didn't do, comparing her to everybody else on the block. And one day I woke up, bro, I was like, bro, it's not fair to put this type of stress on another human being. Your mom has two other children. Your mom is married. Your mom has her own dreams and goals. She couldn't possibly show up to everything you do.
Right.
She couldn't possibly be there for everything that's going on in your life. She has her own life. How dare you have such unrealistic expectations? And then you are destroying the relationship, not because it actually needs to be destroyed, because it doesn't. You could actually be looking at all the great things she did, but because you're so selfish and so self-centered, all you're thinking about is what you didn't get and what they didn't do. And I'm telling you, man, I have a much better relationship with my mom. I'm so grateful to God that I didn't die, or she didn't die when I was in that state of mind. And I'm so grateful that I have an opportunity now to revisit our upbringing and revisit our relationship. And now I'm in a position to do stuff for my mom, both mentally, emotionally, financially, and be a support, like to my mom, a counselor, a therapist. My wife is there for my mom. And it's like, man, God, thank you so much for not letting me die in my ignorance, or letting my mom die in my ignorance, but giving me an opportunity to make some wrongs, right.
Amen to that. I mean, you just reminded me of like when you can take care of your parents, when you kind of grow up, when you kind of take responsibility, like what you mentioned, and you say, you gave a perfect example. She did that on purpose, 7 years in between. She wanted to be able to spend time. She wanted to be able to make sure, or try to make sure you guys had new clothes. Like those, the intentions. And when I go through, thoughts of my dad, like these were bad. But then when I go through, it's like, okay, yeah, of course, everybody's had their bad stuff. But he worked two jobs. My mom worked two jobs, right? My dad was as blue collar as it gets, right? Never really owned anything, filed bankruptcy multiple times, struggled with stuff. So when I got to a point where he could come work in my business and I could pay off his house, that was a great feeling to pay him and my mom's house off. But they're like the best parents now, and even better grandparents. So I couldn't be more thankful, like you just said, like, there's a reason why things go the way they go. There's a reason why we have these battles, or what we think are battles, that are actually truly could be blessings that we learn from. So thank you for sharing that story, because I didn't know that about your family. You mentioned a lot about, the lions. That's another one of my favorite. You talk about, being a lion and why it's the king of the jungle and chasing the gazelle. And then you mentioned storms. So I had a TED talk where I talked about the buffaloes and cows. Do you know the difference between a buffalo and a cow?
Yeah, I just heard this recently. Like one runs from, and then one runs to the storm. I just heard that this
Yeah.
recently.
So in my TED Talk, I talked about that. But what I learned, a few years ago, and I didn't know it, but I thought it was a great analogy kind of to jump in there, because you talked about we're always going through storms, or, when we're coming out, when we're going in, is you're right. When a storm comes or problems come in life, a cow walks away or runs, away from it, and it chases that cow. And in life, for the listeners out there, you're just running from problems that are just going to haunt you. You're going to have to deal with them. And what a buffalo does is it runs through it. So it gets through quickly and learns from it and gets the process in to be better, to be stronger, to get those wounds that actually make them tougher as they advance in life. And what I've been trying to work on in my head with this new podcast and with this new renounced energy of what I'm going to do in life is, how do I go, instead of being a buffalo or a cow, how do I become the storm? Any advice on that?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Just a few things. I never understood, Jay, how important it was to be intentional and deliberate. Like most of my life, and I'm sure you as well, in our flight assessment, when people go and take the flight assessment, it's this realization of, oh, who I am, because a lot of people don't know their strengths and their skills and their talents. So when I studied the flight assessment before I actually started my own company with it, I didn't realize that one of my biggest challenges with having this kind of energy was being very spontaneous, and kind of just like, just going with the wind, like just waking up. Like I thought a strength, and it is a strength, but it's also, has its corresponding weaknesses. I thought being spontaneous was just like, hey, this is the greatest thing you could ever be. Like, you always want to be flexible. You never know what life changes.
Right.
But one of the things that I realized is that there is power in intentionality. There is power in specificity. And so when you decide to become the storm or become something, you really have the power to do it. Mm-hmm. Although it seems scary, because the cow is actually running away, because in its mind, the best case scenario is to run away and get out of it. Like, it's not thinking that as I'm running, it's following me. Like, in its brain, it's really thinking the cow is actually running toward it, because in its brain it's thinking, this is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
But we're human, and we have such power, untapped into power, that we don't even realize. So once you realize, like, I'm going to become the storm, meaning what? That I'm not going to allow things to happen to me. Like, I'm not going to wait for stuff to happen. Like, I'm going to become intentional and deliberate about deciding what happens to me, deciding what happens with the pain, deciding what happens with the blessing. Because you said it earlier, there's blessings, right? And then you said there's
battles.
So some of us would look at battles and storms and go, it's a battle, it's a storm. How do I best prepare myself? No. Don't do that. You got to look at the battle the same way you look at the blessing. Mm-hmm. Like blessing is a blessing because of how you look at it. The battle is going to be a battle when we recognize, I love battles. Like, I'm going to get something out this battle. This battle is going to do something for me the blessing will not do. And I'm telling you, man, I was walking. I was in Houston, doing some work with Pastor Keon, and I was staying at a friend's house to wash my clothes. But then our hotel was probably about a 30-minute walk, bro. I literally grabbed my suitcase with my clean clothes, and I walked all the way to the hotel. And people were asking me like, "E, what are you doing?" People saw me on the street. E.T. I was like, "What's up?" They was like, "Bro, you need a ride?" I was like, "Absolutely not. I don't need a ride. I'm going to be the storm."
Yeah, baby.
Meaning, I'm not going to allow myself to only experience blessings and get weak. I'm not going to let myself only experience blessings and get complacent. Like, I'm not going to allow myself to fall off. It was not making $200,000 a year, a gig that made ET. It was homelessness. It was walking the streets that made ET. So we're not going to leave the storm because we're out of it. No, like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to go and we're not going to give our clothes to the laundry service here at the hotel. Like, we're not about to do that. And I got money for it. But we're going to go wash Because when you were not E.T. the hip hop preacher, you were washing clothes, you were walking, you were taking a suitcase and before people knew who you were. So for me, when you say that, I'm thinking, AE, some of the battles that you've gone through in life that made you what you are, don't wait for them to reoccur.
Yeah.
Go create them so that the thing that you became by the result of them, you can get those same results without having to wait for them. That's what I'm hearing when I hear create the storm.
Yeah. No, hey, that's powerful. And I love that. I figured if I threw that to you, if anybody could come up with how to build that out, you just did. That was amazing. So I'm jacked. Yeah. So, look, we got to meet when you came to Raleigh for Ed Milet's thing, which, that was a great event. There were some great speakers there. That was the first time I heard a speech about, his new book, One More. And then, to hear Andy Frisella, who I'm a huge fan of Andy as well. But I was excited to meet you and see all of you guys together. And, I'm starting to try to book some small gigs and speaking. So I'm getting really excited about that. So hopefully we can connect on that and I can learn from the GOAT, because I feel like I bring some value building up a $1 billion company and losing it, right? And building up 2 podcasts that hit top 5. So I want to bring value out there. I want to learn, but what I think is most important is you talk about God and you talk about family. And I love that, right? Because, I'm a born again Christian. 11, 12, 13 years ago, I remarried my wife under a church because we went and, got hitched and did it all wrong. Had a kid first, got married, bought a house. Families didn't like each other. And then, after our 10-year anniversary, my kids were there. I'm like, look, I want to give her the wedding she never asked for. Did her whole, marriage ceremony, went and we all got baptized the night before. It was like beautiful. Long story short, a lot of speakers don't do that. I love that you stay you. I love that you preach and that you're able to talk about blessings and you're able to talk about God. So I just want to say thank you for that, because that doesn't happen with a lot of speakers. I think they're scared to be themselves sometimes. And it's disappointing that people are scared to be who they truly are, and you're not. You're as real as it comes. And I love that, my man.
Yeah, I'm scared too. I'm scared that if I don't talk about him, he
taketh away.
Yeah, I'm saying if I don't talk about God, he's not going to continue to open up the windows of heaven and pour out blessings that they're not room enough to receive. So it's just, I get it. We're all afraid, but I fear that, God is not going to continue to elevate me and bring me into, these type of relationships. And people don't know, but hey, I had a big situation in my church, big dollar amount, with the sanctuary that I didn't know anything about, and I was able to call Jay and get some counsel and be able to make some moves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's important, guys. Like, you never know in these relationships. You never know who's who. You never know who you're gonna meet. You never know how you're gonna need each other. So don't ever be so big time that don't be so big time that you think you know it all and you have it all. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why I do talk about God, the reason why I talk about my family is because really, man, at the end of the day, that's the priority. And anytime you forget the priority, you have a chance of losing it. When you don't make the priority and you allow something else to make it the priority, you may end up losing the priority. And listen to me. I don't say these things because I've always made the priority. I say them because I haven't always made the priority. And in many cases, either almost lost the priority or devalued the priority. You feel me? And that wasn't my intent. So now I'm like, oh no, E, you got to keep the main thing, and you cannot allow anything else to be the main thing, but the main thing, because I didn't do this for money only. That wasn't my goal. I didn't get into this business to be number one. I didn't even get in this business to be popular. I didn't even want to be a motivational speaker professionally. I didn't even know it was a such thing. Right. I just wanted to be a principal. I just wanted to run a school. That's all I ever wanted to do. But because my intentions were pure. Now my intentions are perfect. Eric Thomas isn't. You know what I'm saying? You can go back from the day I was born up until today. There's nothing perfect about Eric Thomas. But my intentions have always been perfect. My motive has always been pure. And as a result of that, God has helped me to get my character right in the process. But I think, man, people are drawn to me because, at the end of the day, everybody wants to do the right thing, and everybody, everybody loves something more than money. I think a lot of the things that we are attracted to is stuff that people have told us, you need to get this and you need to do this and this is going to make you happy. But at the end of the day, if we didn't have that influence, man, it would be family. It would be spending time with family. It would be figuring out what my purpose was. It would be understanding what my gift is. And that's why we created the flight assessment to actually help people to understand there is no joy like knowing your purpose. There is no joy in like using your unique gift in a way. And Jay, I can't wait in terms of the speaking thing to assist you, because that's something that I know, right? And I can support you in a way that you've supported me. Like, that's something that I know. And so I'm just sitting here excited, because the third thing is, after you figure it out, there's no greater joy than helping other people figure it out. And not only helping them figure it out, but helping their lives to become more enriched by figuring it out.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you for that too. And listen, we're both, big Detroit Lions fans, right? Detroit everything fans. And, I think you like Michigan State. I like Michigan. That's a whole nother conversation. But the Lions played so good this year. How are you feeling about next year, my man?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Now, what I think the Lions front office did that I'm a little bit more excited about is when Caldwell did this same 9-7 boy, they got rid of him for some strange reason and then bring him back. So now with the 9-8 boy, I'm excited about the fact that at least they're going to keep the same personnel that was responsible for this momentum. Like, I don't understand, it's the same thing. Oh man, I'm going to kill myself that I don't remember the name. Oh,
it was
man.
the GM. It was the previous GM. I forgot his name too. He wasn't very good.
I'm talking about, remember when we, Barry Sanders, we had the 12.
Wayne Fonts.
Yeah, so we had the 12-4 boy, right? And then they got rid of the quarterback and brought in Scott Mitchell.
Yeah.
But what was my man's name before that? It was
Eric Kramer.
Eric Kramer, bro. Eric Kramer. Like, the Lions have a way of whoever's responsible for getting us the momentum.
They get rid of.
And as soon as they do well, it's like, Eric Kramer, you got to go. I'm like, yo, my man he took us to we went to the NFC Championship, whatever it was. Like, we were one game away from the Super Bowl. Next year they get rid of this guy, and I've seen that so much with the Lions, man. And this is the first time they kept the same personnel. So I'm really excited to see those guys getting to work with each other in the summer, not having to start all over again. Jay, we know how hard it is to build positive momentum. And the last thing you want to do when you have it is to destroy it.
Yeah. And, the previous leadership, it starts with the GM, in my opinion, right? And Brad Holmes is a genius, and he sees talent, and I think he likes continuity and keeping people together. But my son's the biggest Lions fan ever at 12, and he plays football. He's a quarterback, plays a lot of travel flag teams. But he's even got PTSD. He's like, hey, are we really going to be good next year? I'm like a little nervous. Are they going to do something to mess it up? He's got it. He's 12.
Good.
He's 12.
I got it. He should.
I tell him, I said, but hey, next year will be good. And the Pistons got to get better. They got the talent. They just got to turn the corner, right? So
I say this to you, though. My son doesn't have it, and I don't know why. But every year, my son keeps saying, this is the year.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, this is the year. We're going to restore the roar.
That's right. Well, hey, I come up there to some games. We'll definitely have to get together. But listen,
I'm going to have to come, man.
Yeah. And look, I want to touch base on the speaking, but I want to say thank you for coming and, blessing us with coming on this show, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, talking about the process, sharing some family stories about that for these listeners out here. A lot of these folks out here need a kick, need a restart, need some guidance. So I appreciate that. And everybody should definitely get the book, You Owe You. I mean, this is one of the best books I've ever read. It's a bestseller right now. Eric's as pure as it gets. His intentions are always pure. He is one of the best motivational people I've ever heard in my entire life. Thank you, E.T. I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Thank you, Jay. Much success, and I look forward to